Hello and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage on a beautiful Saturday evening, July 20th, 2024. I know it's July 20th because over a month ago, I told a friend of mine I would be his truck driver. He was cutting wood and I was hauling it to his house from another location. About a 40-minute round trip. He asked me over a month ago, and between then and now, the way life works, all kinds of other things were scheduled for this date. Things I was interested in, but I would, you have those friends that you would help no matter what. Well, this guy is one of those guys. So, doesn't matter how important the date today, I was not going to back out on him. And it was beautiful, beautiful day. It's, the humidity broke here in the Northeast Thursday night, and it's still warm during the day. The afternoon, high 80s, but the humidity, not bad at all. So tonight, I had a little snack, and now I'm out here starting to assemble my SFI cased Powerglide that come this Thanksgiving I would have owned 2 years, and this is as far as I've got. First time I've ever had anything out of the box was just a few weeks ago. We shot the introductory video of what will be a series, I suppose. So, in preparation, it's kind of fun starting with mostly new parts. It's going to be 95% new parts, probably. Well, I don't know what exact percentage, but hey, mostly new parts. And the first thing I'm going to do with this brand new case in Bellhausen, it was a deal. It was case, Bellhausen, and Tailhausen, the Black Friday deal. And normally these would come packaged individually. The way you see it is the way it came. I have no faith that, for instance, the Bellhausen bolts are ready to race. They're probably just stuck in there, maybe even hand tight. I haven't checked them. They're all present, but I would never just continue forward assembling it without checking all the fasteners. I thought it was nice they gave you the parking pawl and this bracket and bolts, but I don't trust that that's ready to go. You get what I'm saying. You got to check everything, including for damage. The way it was boxed up, there was some stuff floating around inside, and I noticed that near the vent right there, somebody's dinged it up a little bit, so you got to inspect everything, even though it's brand new. Something simple like that will trip you up. The Powerglide is a really simple transmission. It doesn't require that many specialized tools, but many years I did not have any specialized tools and managed to overhaul tons of them. But, as I get older, I have a love for tools, and that love comes from how much easier it makes your job and more accurately you can do your job without needlessly destroying new seals, for instance. The linkage seal goes in the side of the case. And for decades, I've just driven it in with a socket. Same with the Turbo 400. Only recently, I saw the Turbo 400 tool online, and I duplicated it with the lathe in about probably a half an hour. That fits a Turbo 400 and a 350, etc. Powerglide linkage is different. So I whipped up one of these the other night. Fits right in. Pretty simple. I made this the same dimension as the shift shaft. And I cut a recess so it would actually recess the seal in the case with this. This was 1-inch rod that I started with. And the shoulder left between the shift shaft dimension and this shoulder right here, you can install the linkage seal and it pushes on it perfectly. So now when you go to drive it in, you can't miss. It is, it was only maybe 6 months ago that I made the one for the Turbo 400, and I haven't ruined a seal since. Like, I would occasionally miss or have doubts whether I put it in correctly, driving it in with my poor beaten 1/2-inch snap-on socket for the Turbo 400. This would take a slightly larger socket to drive in. So taking the time to do this, I mean, what the heck? I've had this thing almost 2 years, and as of yet, I don't necessarily have a project in mind for it. But at the time, I saw a deal, decided I'd build a complete unit. Whether I sell it or keep it, only time will tell. Continuing on the theme with the linkage, I've mentioned this before, but the factory shift shaft in a Powerglide, you need to chuck it. It is not applicable to any shifter you're going to find. So unless you're running the stock column, even then the stock shift shaft has a TV rod coming out in the middle of it, so it's hollow. It's a throwaway, like most of the Powerglide parts are. A lot of the shifters will come with a specific welded shift shaft where this arm is welded on. This is known as the universal shaft. It fits a variety of shifters. And now, like a traditional GM or what we're familiar with, TH350, Turbo 400, the outer arm unbolts. So if you buy a shifter that comes with an arm for a Powerglide, it's going to fit on here. What I don't have new, I haven't even cleaned these up yet. This is the rooster that the shift shaft would slide through when you tighten up the clamp. And then the guide, which bolts on the valve body and holds it in place. This replaces the nail on a 480E or Turbo 400, etc. So I'm going to clean these up. I haven't even looked. I'm sure there's aftermarket versions available. They might be stock reproductions. They might be Super Duty. Reality, these are pretty stout pieces and not an area that probably needs to be upgraded. I wish I'd stop sticking my arm to that paper. Speaking of the paper, this is the instructions. I have a TSR trans brake valve body. It's cast iron. I kind of wish I bought a billet one now, but the TSR valve body is a fine unit. And with all Powerglide trans brake valve bodies, you have to pay attention to the rear oil. Let me turn the case around. In a stock Powerglide case, you'd have to drill up through the rear section by the output shaft and intersect it with this hole right here. In this aftermarket case, there's no passages in the back. The case is thick enough that they went ahead and put the passage up through here, and it comes out right behind the reverse piston. But again, you need to study the trans brake instructions. This is to apply reverse when the trans brake is on, and you want it to release fast, so there's minimum spec on the hole. I think it's like 3/8. It's pretty big, flows a lot of oil, but important to review the instructions and have them in hand, because if you assemble the whole transmission and didn't modify the rear oil hole, you'd be taking it back apart. All indications thus far, this seems to be a really fine case. It's my first BTE case that I've had. I've had many BTE Bellhausens. I find it curious, and this is not specific to BTE, it's more common practice now. They provide you with the SFI tags, but they're loose. Now, depending on your sanction and body where you race, those have to be, they're good for 5 years. This case came dated ahead, so my tags started expiring, the 5-year expiration, May of 23. That's the cutout on the tag. There should be one for the Bellhausen and one for the case. They used to machine a flat spot on the case and on the Bellhausen. The sticker was already applied and often had either clear tape or clear sealer over it, so you couldn't mess with it and it was always there. These cases don't have any flat spot machined, nor does the Bellhausen. It's just, a rough casting. It's not machined like this surface. The sticker's not going to stick on there. I'm not sure what they expect you to do with them these days. And I bought a lot of flywheels and stuff lately. They all come loose. The stickers do. I guess you could, stick them on a page and put them in a folder and keep them with your race car. But I guess I need to do more research as far as that goes. When I, sell somebody a Bellhausen, I just give them the tag loose, because again, there's no place to attach it anymore. So interesting. But I'm sure there's an answer out there that I just don't have. Truth be told, most people don't even look at the dates. And that's just another subject for another day. I mean, there's nothing about this case, if I don't modify it, that's ever going to expire. If the transmission exploded, I would question it, but I don't think it goes bad in 5 years. And that's coming from a guy that's relatively pro-safety. But back to reality, I am wearing my gloves tonight, but I'm not wearing a long sleeve shirt, and I guarantee you every place I've touched my arm on this bench, or if I was to just be handling this with my bare hands, everything would be rusty tomorrow. It's that time of year. Even in the wintertime, it just takes longer. But I love raw metal, but you have to, give it its space. I do coat this every now and then because I like the surface. I haven't had this bench that long, but I see, like down south when they're building a chassis or something, they can't keep the rust off. You'd have to wipe it down every day. Maybe they do. Some do, some don't. But a lot of times they got a lot of handprints, and the next day it's automatically rusty. I've had chassis where I've been building and people stop by to look at it, and through conversation they're leaning on it and touching it, and next thing you know, it's orange the next day. But anyway, hope you're enjoying your, third week in July. It's definitely nice here in the Northeast. I haven't looked at the long-term weather, but sure is nice. Have a good evening. Take it easy.